Hello, Stephen.
How are you?
Hi, very well, thank you. Thanks for doing this interview for us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
It's great because we didn't know you were coming until somebody told us, because we were so excited that you were actually coming to the Northeast.
It's been a while.
I know. We've loved your music, and for a long time.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing everybody up there.
Oh yeah, it'll be great, and you've got.
I hear good things about Stockton,
Yeah. Well, it's the only venue in the Northeast that you're doing, so which is tremendous for us.
Yeah.
I'd just like to ask you a couple of questions, if that's okay. Just basically, how did you get into blues?
Well, my mom played Beatles and Motown, and I mean, my parents were not musicians, but they danced, and the music could go on, and suddenly the mood lifted. They'd dance, and it was good times. And my mom played a lot of Beatles and Stones, so I became an out-of-generation fan of those bands. And then realized they were both name-checking Chuck Berry. So I got some Chuck Berry, and plus they all did cover versions, and I got Berry on Top, which was on Chess Records, and so I started to investigate other Chess recordings, and in the meantime, I'd started to play guitar, and it became known in the neighborhood that I was the guitar-playing kid. So people would play me music, and I started to discover Hendrix and Zeppelin and Cream and Peter Green's Fleetwood Mac and John Mayall I found, and it just sort of started that way. And before I knew it, I was sort of 14 and 15 listening to Robert Johnson and Mississippi Fred McDowell and Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, and that's kind of how it started. And then I was kind of in this conundrum or quandary, because I wasn't black and I didn't live in Mississippi, and I couldn't find a way in conceptually. It was almost like there was some sort of bar on my participating. Plus it seemed really adult, this music. I could tell that they weren't playing around. The stuff that they sang about and the intensity and the power, it was derived from some really seriously difficult life situations,
Yeah.
And I was just growing up as a kid, playing guitar and surfing and going to school.
Well, yeah, this is it. And I know there was all a lot about you acquiring a Gibson when you were just a youngster.
Yeah, my mom probably had aspirations, designs on me being a sensitive singer-songwriter. So I'd had an acoustic guitar. She probably thought I, should end up like, I don't know, Neil Young, the acoustic part of Neil Young's catalog, or James Taylor, or something like that.
Yeah.
But once I'd convinced my parents that I should have an electric, my dad, again, my mom probably wanted some sort of entry-level, so she wasn't mad about the idea that I was going to play electric, and my dad's the sort of guy that, if you do something, it's worth doing right. So we came home with a Gibson SG Special, and she, which was probably about 10 times the money she wanted to spend. But
because they're a cheap, a cheap
guitar. But bless him, that's what my dad did, and there's an adage that a bad workman blames his tools, but that doesn't translate to musicians.
No.
And so, I always advise anybody, starting out or wherever they are, intermediate, to spend as much money as you can on a great instrument, because you get inspired. The instruments sound good to you out of the box. It's so hard when you're starting, when you can't get the fingering right, and you can't get the sort of nuance and the dexterity, and there's all sorts of things when you're starting out that go against you, and to add to that mix an instrument that just intrinsically sounds like crap.
Yeah.
It's really difficult, and
it makes it very hard.
So I feel quite blessed, or whatever, quite lucky, that my dad did that.
Yeah, no, that's fabulous, because not everybody will do that. They just sort of let the kids come up and hopefully I will just get them this from a second-hand shop or something cheap.
I suppose, to be fair, I mean, I'd been playing guitar for 4 years by that stage, and my dad would have taken note.
Yeah.
A passing phase would have come and gone over the course of a year, probably.
Yeah, that's true.
So he clearly saw that I was dedicated.
Yeah, I mean, when you came up with them, so who actually influenced you mainly?
Oh my God, so many.
Yeah,
so many.
You've mentioned Sonny Terry. I mean, I used to like Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee, and and Robert Johnson and all those as well, because I'm no youngster myself, but I was brought up with them.
Yeah, sometimes like Skip James, who I discovered a bit later, he floors me, and I can't play like him, and I reached a point, fairly early on that I accepted I never would play like him, but I still get inspired by him, and I still can be influenced by him, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas Freddie King, I fastidiously and with great focus would learn every single note of every single solo that floored me. Same with B.B. King and some of the Cream stuff, some Hendrix stuff. So I mean, that's a kind of a different, more direct influence, I guess. Mick Taylor, the Crusade album with John Mayall was a huge watershed for me, because I could, for some reason, decipher the fingerings from the notes that he played, or the way he played it, or the phrasing. Or there was something about it that unlocked a whole new level of playing, because I'd been playing this, like I'd for example, I'd learn a B.B. King solo, but I wasn't doing it in the same positions, and this might sound like unimportant detail, perhaps, to people who don't play, but it really was a huge moment, because I suddenly could sort of backwards translate to the stuff I'd already learned and change the positions and stuff, because when you play, there's a great thing about the guitar, on a piano you've only got one middle C, you've only got one of those notes, you've got an octave above middle C, but on a guitar you can play the same value, the same octave of C in 3 or 4 different places up and down the neck. It's the same exact value note, but each position has a whole different texture and timbre.
Yeah, that's right. I understand that.
And because the guitar is, for me, anyways, it's emotional expression above all that's important to me, and the human voice is, the nearest thing that expresses emotion that way.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you've got to get things. Well, you've got to get your voice matched up to the key, to the the key basically on the guitar.
Well, there is that too, yeah. But I'm talking about when you're soloing and stuff. So where you can play that same value C note in one position on the neck, and it sound a little bit more matter of fact, and you can play it in a whole different position, and it can sound anguished.
Yeah.
Just by where you're playing it, and because of in those changes of positions, you've got a change of strings usually, and always actually, and the strings resonate differently, and so in terms of influences, there's so many There's just loads and loads, and I'm always learning, and I'm always, there are people whose music I don't really like, but there'll be something played, a guitar player play something, and I'll try and figure it out, and, it's not that I directly steal, although I'm happy to, because I never let it be whatever it is that I've taken untouched, so to speak. I try to incorporate it, somehow play it backwards or do it with a different nuance or do it, but in terms of learning, it never stops.
No, I can understand that. I mean, you've actually played with some of the greats, from what I can gather. Howlin' Wolf, their guitarist.
Yeah, Hubert Sumlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to play with him. That was a seriously life-changing experience.
I can imagine that, yeah. I mean, if, you played with the Bluesbreakers, John Mayall's Bluesbreakers, and they, again, were big, well, in this country anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I played with Mick Taylor.
Yeah. Rolling Stones. So.
Yeah, and I played with Walter Trout, but in terms of playing with the Bluesbreakers, I don't know when the Bluesbreakers, John Mayall has resurrected that name off and on, but for my money, that finished with Mick Taylor, really. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't say I played with the Bluesbreakers. In my fantasy, I'm the next guy. So you had Eric, then you had Peter Green, then you had Mick Taylor. In my fantasy, that would be me.
Yeah, I understand. Well, I mean, I'll listen to the Bluesbreakers for a lot of years. When I was, let's say, younger, when I was in my... Well, I'm 67 now, so it would be when I was in my early 20, well, 18 to 20 time, and they were just fabulous then.
Yeah.
And you've done a Blue University tour.
Yes.
I understand. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, it was a way to continue spreading the word about the blues, and when I started this last sort of 10 years now, so go back to 2005, 2006, blues was still ghettoized. It was still, there were a lot more music stores, HMVs and stuff, and when you went into an HMV and asked for a blues record, you got directed upstairs to the corner, music genre stall, and it was segregated and so forth, and it's changed so much now. It's got such a huge profile.
Well, it has, as you said earlier. At one time, blues was just attracted to the black people. With you being white, it was hard to get into that type of music.
Well, I was into it. It was just a question of
actually playing.
How do I go out and
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Participate as a performer? But in terms of giving master classes and stuff, it was just another way for me to get to talk about my passion. It's been a passion, obsession, and a place of solace and a place of enjoyment and a place of discovery. I mean, it's just there's no real way for me to sum up in words what the music has meant to me, and it was just as I say, another avenue to do that.
Well, I think the blues really has influenced a lot of modern day artists as well. Not just people that play blues, but they've influenced a lot of top acts of any type of genre of music.
Well, when I was talking about the Beatles, for example, and I did have this conversation with Jimmy Page, and he agreed. I mean, they were blues based largely, perhaps John Lennon more than Paul McCartney. But you can take their singles. It's the easiest. Can't Buy Me Love is a blues progression with a pop chorus bolted on. She's a Woman, blues progression with a pop chorus bolted on. Lady Madonna, same deal. I Feel Fine, blues progression with a pop chorus bolted on. So it's everywhere. And anybody who plays guitar, it doesn't matter if you're into shred metal or you're into emo or thrash or any of these modern guitar genres. If you haven't checked out the blues, you're really operating in a deficit, because anybody who bends a note who's doing that technique is because of blues people.
That's right, yeah.
Anybody who picks up a slide.
Yeah. Well, that's what it's all about, and that's where it all came from, and I totally agree with you there. Just another one here, and people have asked, or will ask about it, what's your highest and your lows when you've been in the music business?
I suppose my lows really sort of preceded this last 10-year part of my life, which is when Guitarama was recorded and released. And prior to that, I got the holy grail that every musician was seeking, was striving for, which was a recording deal and a publishing deal, and that it hit a dead end, and it was really clear that the companies that I were involved in had advanced me all the money I was going to see, and they were going to play, creative accounting, and so that sort of sense that you get this thing you've been working for your entire life, and everybody around you is working for the same thing, and you get it, and it becomes a brick wall, a dead end. So that was one of the lows, and I certainly sought solace, in chemical altered realities. And I suppose some of the highs are meeting and getting to record with Hubert Sumlin. Same with Mick Taylor. I remember the first time I was played on Paul Jones. That was just like, wow, that was just so exciting and so brilliant.
Yeah.
He's an institution. He's the flag. That show is the flagship show in this country. No disrespect to your show, but
no, that's fine. I understand that. Yeah.
So those are some of the highs. Walter Trout, meeting Walter Trout.
Right.
Getting to play with Walter Trout segues nicely into the reason probably we're doing this interview, which is this Stockton date. So
yeah, it's not just it's a double-headed bill with yourself on it now, which we're really will. It was funny because I was talking to a colleague, saying that you were coming, to Stockton, and he said, "Oh yes, I've got one of his albums and that." So you're not, a lot of people do, know and appreciate your music.
Oh, that's great. It's great. Well, we're really looking forward to it. We've started rehearsals. The band's sounding great. We've got a couple of new numbers and other familiar, songs that people who know my music would be familiar with.
What would be of what you've actually recorded? What would be your favourite track?
God.
I know it sounds, it's a bit putting you on the spot there.
Yeah, I don't know. The one you played, Summertime Blues, is one of my favorites.
Right.
A lot of people, because it's a cover version, can't really get past all the others. There's Eddie Cochran, which was definitive, and Blue Cheer, which in its way was definitive, and The Who did it and this and that. But in terms of, you're asking me about favorites. Dick Taylor's playing bass on that recording, and it was recorded with the Ronnie Lane Mobile Unit, which is a famous recording facility. The Who used it, and Zeppelin used it for Physical Graffiti. Bad Company's first two albums were recorded on it. Live at the Rainbow, Eric Clapton, Bob Marley used it, etc. So the recording is great, and it was just one of those convergences. The band had a great night, and it was being recorded by a great system. and you know, some of the stuff that Dick Taylor's doing, and we're all listening to each other, and you know, the crowd was just, you know, off the hook. So I like that, and it's more the, you know, just the vibe of the song. It's the middle section is all improvised, you know.
Yeah.
Just kind of on the spot, and it's just the magic that got captured. In terms of studio, I guess Absolutely Perfect Heartbreak, which is off the last album.
Yeah.
Is a favorite of mine. Holding My Soul.
Yeah.
Which is a favorite because I got Max Middleton, and it was a big honor to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing keyboards on it. Slide with Mick on it, with Mick Taylor, off the same album, The Crave. The track, The Crave, I like a lot, and that was really, really cool to write that lyric with Pete Brown, who did all the Cream stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, widely considered, including, you know, Eric Clapton amongst those who hold this point of view, widely considered to be the fourth member of Cream.
Yeah. If we're going to play another track of yours when we finish the interview. What would you like us to play?
Oh my God!
Yeah, it's a beaut, isn't it?
I don't know. Why don't you play? Are you able to play? There's not a swear word, but it's very kind of. I'll play "Get You Off" with Dr. John. It's off for Cracking the Code.
Right. Okay. Sure, I've got that one. Just having a quick look now. Got most everything, but that's one I haven't got. Would you believe? I've got The Crave, and I've got.
I can get someone from the office to send it to you.
Oh, that'd be great if you could. Yeah.
Well, MP3 is all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. What I'll do then, I'll play that one. How's about Approximately Perfect Heartbreak?
Yeah.
So we'll play that one. And it's been great talking to you, Stephen. And I look forward to seeing you on the 17th at the Ark at Stockton.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and thanks so much for having me.
No, it'd be great, and thank you for doing this interview for us. And I shall, well, if it's okay, we'll pop and say hello to you.
Absolutely.
And
please do.
Yeah, well, we'll have a chat then. So thanks again, Stephen, for this.
Pleasure.
Okay, thank you very much, and we'll play Approximately Perfect Heartbreak now. Okay, thank you very much again.
So do you need me to send you this, or are you going to play Approximately Perfect Heartbreak?
I'm going to play you Approximately Perfect Heartbreak now.
And you've got that?
Yeah, I've got that now.
Okay,
yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, I'm going to play that right now for you.
All right, then.
Okay, thanks very much.
Take care.
Take care. Thank you.
Cheers.
Bye-bye now.